This is Artful Discourse, your weekly escape into the vibrant world of creativity, culture, and intellectual exploration. I'm your host, Benjamin Kirk, and I invite you to join me on a journey through the rich tapestry of human thought and the beating heart of artistic expression at Fresno State's College of Arts and Humanities. We are off to a new semester at Fresno State. We've been busy filling our campus calendar with dozens of exciting events in the College of Arts and Humanities. If you'd like to check out what we have to offer this semester, please visit calendar.fresnostate.edu. That's calendar.fresnostate.edu. One of the first major music events we have on the calendar is La Bohème, an opera by Giacomo Puccini. Set in the 19th century Paris, this timeless opera follows a group of young artists navigating love, friendship, and hardship in the Latin Quarter. Experience the passion, romance between poet Rodolfo and seamstress Mimi, set to some of the opera's most memorable melodies. The opera is sung in Italian with English subtitles. And today, to talk about this more, our guests are Dr. Maria Briggs, a fantastic soprano, associate professor of voice. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to us.
And Dr. Anthony Radford, professor of voice and opera, and also specializing in voice. And your range?
I'm a baritone.
Okay. Yeah.
On a good day.
All right. So welcome to both of you. We'll get to La Bohème in a moment, but I'd like to start with a more important question for each of you. What do you love about music? Maria.
Right. Oh, that's a hard question. What I love about music, it's I guess for me, the beginning of music is very spiritual. I think, I am a spiritual religious person, and I feel that we've been called here to um, celebrate creation, celebrate God, and celebrate each other. And the best way of doing it is with music, and it's a very universal language. Uh, so, for example, our opera is sung in Italian, uh, and I don't think you really need to speak Italian, understand a word of it to really enjoy the music and the sound of the language. And when we sing, we get to combine text and music, so that's even more immediate and more successful in emoting, in glorifying the existence, our humanity, and separates us from animals. Of course, birds sing too, but we are the only species on this planet that can compose our own music and express our own emotions through music and communicate to each other in a very unique, deep way.
Now, how has music shaped your life? What is your background?
I I come from a very musical family, so I'm very fortunate. My parents love music and theater and all kinds of performing and visual arts. So I've been exposed to it from early age, and of course, I started singing in church and going to music school. I grew up in Moscow, so every afternoon after my regular school, I'd go to a music school and have lessons in piano and choir and music history, music theory. So that was part of life. It was a normal part of my life. And I knew that music was something that you had to practice and work on. And it was a very serious pursuit. So I'm very grateful for that. So that was my background. It was always a big part. And I never thought I was going to be a musician, but it kind of, I guess I just fell into it. And now being a parent and a professor of music, I'm so again so grateful that this is something a lifelong pursuit that I'm able to um, use professionally and also give it to my children. My children are very musical. They have lessons and do lots of concerts. Actually, they are in the La Bohème opera as well. And yeah, I guess that's my background. It's always been part of my life.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Radford, what do you love about music?
I love the feelings. I love the feelings I have when I listen to it. Um, I love. I just got back from London, as you know, and there were a couple experiences there that I had. For example, I was in Handel's studio that he um, coached singers in, the harpsichord that he used, the view that he had out those windows as he and the little room in the back where he wrote, the Messiah and his music. And I got a glimpse of the life of an artist. He was one of the first artists who was self-employed. Basically, he was a celebrity in London, and he was a composer and self-supporting. So that was very inspiring to me because we get the chance here as professors at Fresno State to be. I mean, we teach, but we get to be full-time artists, and that's such a special thing because we deal in feelings and emotions. I started as well, to answer your second question. I started as well in the church, um, and went to a choir school and learned the discipline. I didn't learn, I didn't learn sight reading from a class. I learned by being 6 years old and thrown in a choir and said, "Read it." Um, and I ended up going to a choir school. I'm not. I wouldn't say I was. I'm religious, but I enjoy the transcendence, the universality of music, and the way that it makes me feel.
I think it's a little bit interesting that both of you kind of started in a religious setting as far as your music. Is that pretty common with your students as well?
I would say yes and no. I would say a majority of them actually started uh, through school.
Hmm.
So the primary school choir or the high school choir where they were inspired. So I would say a majority of them. There
Yeah.
are definitely some that are involved in the church, um, but 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 not a majority.
Yeah.
I would add to that and say that because I have uh, experience of my education back in the Soviet Russia, and then after that, I lived in Australia for a long time. So I've seen the education system in Australia and here, and I am amazed at the opportunities in music and art that kids have here in public schools in California. They're very, very fortunate. The level of choirs and orchestras and bands is amazing. And I guess you here you don't know any different, but I did not have choir in my school in Moscow. I did
Hmm.
not have orchestra, never in a million years. We didn't have a band. We had nothing like that. So if I wanted to do something like music, I had to audition and be accepted into a music school, which was completely separate from education, general education school. And the fact that it's included in general education, public education, and it's funded and it's a normal part of children's development is just amazing. And I think you should be commended for that. And I know we can always give more funding. I know people complain it's not enough. Like, of course, you can always make it better. You can always give more money, have better instruments, have more classes, more time, but what you have is very, very special. You should be aware that it's unique, and I haven't seen it anywhere in the world that I've been, that I've lived in. So, um, and the fact that our kids get introduced to high level of music making in public schools here in California is fantastic. I mean, it helps us a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think also, I mean, Fresno State itself having such a quality music program, I didn't have access to that. I had access to a very, very high quality music program at University of Toronto, but it was very intimidating. There wasn't anything like what we have at Fresno State, which is a accessible, uh, hands-on music degree that doesn't scare people, that doesn't say you're not good enough to be here. We deal in excellence, but we don't deal in exclusivity. And the other thing is that as Maria and I attest, we didn't grow up in this country that Fresno State recruits internationally to get their faculty.
Hmm.
Um, so that's that's amazing that at Fresno State you can get an education that introduces you to the world and people from different backgrounds, and so that's something very valuable. I think.
And we have two international professors sitting right here.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I yeah. That's
yeah.
my point. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you see as I'm going a little bit off on a tangent here, but I think this is kind of an interesting topic. Just as far as what do you see as the value of that music education? I know that I've talked to some other faculty about the problem solving skills it brings to students, and I mean, even if they're not majoring in music, what value do you see with the music education?
Um, I I will. Do you mind if I start?
No.
I just recently did some professional development with my faculty colleagues through the winter break, and we had a career person come in and tell us that we need to make sure our students are career ready. That our students sometimes don't know how to talk to people or how to write to people or how to present themselves. I felt like, what are you talking about? Because music students know how to do all of that
Hmm.
through being performance musicians. They definitely know how to present themselves. They know how to collaborate. They know how to make friends, connections. They build amazing connections here in the program that serve them throughout their life. And that's just a big feature of being a musician. We rely on each other. We perform together. We know how to work as a team, and we know we're not afraid of public speaking. We're not afraid to go up to someone and say, "Hey, can I pitch this idea to you?" So they're go-getters. We educate people who can stand on their feet and present themselves to the world and go out there and be entrepreneurs. And I think music is very, very good at that.
I love that. I really do. That's such a fantastic analogy and just observation of what you've seen.
I'll just add that opera in particular, I did a little bit of research into um, education theories,
Hmm.
and when I read what is good for students to do, I said I do this in opera. We sing memorized music. We move on the stage. We have to go to A to B. uh, all of those things that education professors want their students to be able to do, we actually do in the opera class.
Hmm.
Memorize language, music, timing, and we're on our feet all the time. We're physical. So our graduates, when they go out into the world, are some of the best prepared uh, people to do what they need to do, whatever it is, be an emergency ward doctor or uh, um, be on Broadway, whatever it is, be a lawyer. I think that they're prepared to do those kind of things, just as Maria's saying.
It just sounds like it instills a really high level of confidence.
Confidence and multitasking,
Well, yeah,
and
exactly.
also ability to react quickly to change in a
Oh my God,
situation. Because anything can happen in a live
constantly.
performance, and they learn very quickly, and they enjoy the stress of it. Kind of become a bit of an adrenaline junkie, honestly,
Mm.
because you learn how to embrace and enjoy the stress and excitement rather than avoid it. And I think it also develops good people who can resolve conflict, people who have really good personal interpersonal skills, which in our world with AI and Zoom and kind of people getting more and more disconnected and have trouble communicating, our kids are great at it.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so let's get on to the opera here because we
Mm.
still have a lot to cover. We're
Mhm.
almost halfway through our show now.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
all right. So, La Boheme, what is the story?
Well, um, you've mentioned that it's set in 1900s. With our particular production, actually, I made a choice to set it in 1950s.
Oh,
Um, it I'm not being innovative or anything. This happens a lot in opera houses where very often will reinvent an opera and put it in a different setting, and I think it's not a huge jump, um, because everything's still relevant, and I wanted to make it more relevant to our students.
mm-hmm.
Because honestly, the opera is about young people. They're students they're struggling, and this is what our students are doing right now. They're young. They're trying to find their way around. They're becoming adults, and they all struggle with lack of finance and also with their relationships. They're new to having relationships, so it was making more relevant. And the other thing that inspired me to do that is I just love the 1950s era look and fashion. And so it was really fun to imagine in different characters in their 1950s look. Uh, there will be Marilyn Monroe will make an appearance. So and yeah, it was really fun. And what's happening is it's a group of students, the three boys, sorry, four boys who share accommodation. They're struggling with rent. The landlord comes. They try to hide and trick him so they don't have to pay the rent. And they struggle with their relationships. Rodolfo meets Mimi, and they try to keep that relationship going. And then um, Marcello has on and off relationship with Musetta, and so on. And that's what it is. It's not too many things really happen. It's a bit of a drama. It's a bit of a comedy. There is a big a Christmas market scene, Christmas Eve with children, and that's really fantastic. And music is so colorful. It's This opera is really less about action. It's more about emotion and, um, I guess, the character growth of our students there, and them trying to find themselves in the world and then facing some really harsh reality towards the end. And I think they all um, gain from the experience. And I think they're kind of becoming, towards the end of the show, they've become adults, I think. And they've started like, just playful kids. That's my take on it.
Now, traditionally, Fresno State puts on an opera every 2 years, but I think it's been a little bit longer this time, right?
No, it's been exactly two
Oh, 2 years.
years
Okay.
since Hansel and Gretel.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but
That's
before that, because of the pandemic, it
that
was
was
a
the
few years.
pandemic was
Yeah.
a few years. Okay.
Mhm.
So why so long between productions? What's involved in a production? Because there's a lot of people on stage, right?
Yeah, I think the 2 years gives us a chance to reset. Um, students, opera is very advanced, and students need a chance to do what we call scenes programs first. So a lot of the students who are doing lead roles now have already been in scenes programs. So we need that 2 year gap so that during the quote unquote off years, the students get a an opportunity to do smaller little little roles, so that when we then assign them a larger role, they've done that. The other thing is that the resources are so much that it takes money, and it takes resources to do something every year. So at Fresno State, we found that the off year, the every other year works well for us and for our students.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then can you expand a little bit on how students are involved in the production and maybe compare that with how faculty involved? And are there any special guests that are coming?
Yeah. So students they take basically two classes. They take an opera performance class and they take a production class. And students are involved in all parts of the production. So we have students in charge of costumes, in charge of props, in charge of media, uh, and so they all get jobs that they have
Mhm.
to do as part of the course around production, and that's very valuable because one of the things that we're teaching is to go out into the world and be able to say work at a public school and put on a show, or a high school, or even a university doing what we're doing. Um, and then what was the other part of your question?
So how are what's
Oh,
faculty involvement, and then are there any guest artists that are
yeah,
coming
yeah.
this time
So
around? So
there are three faculty involved, and Thomas Lowenheim is the musical conductor.
mhm.
Um, I'm the producer, so I deal with all of the production elements and that kind of thing. And Maria is the director, so deals with the direction. Why don't you talk about the
Dr.
Oh,
Quiring
of course,
also.
Dr. Quaring. Dr. Quaring is the repetiteur, which means that he coaches and rehearses
Mhm.
the singers and prepares them for um, singing the role. We have. Why don't you talk about the guest artists?
Yes, we have three guest artists joining us. It's a pretty large. It's such an intimate show with surprisingly many roles. Um, we have three guests, three baritone singers joining us. So two baritones and a bass. But we also with the main big roles, they're all our students, mostly undergraduate students, and it's double cast, which is I still can't get my mind around that because it's the big professional opera.
Mhm.
The roles are really difficult, but we actually have so many talented undergraduate students that we were able to double cast Mimi, which is the main soprano role. We were able to double cast the big tenor role of Rodolfo, which is just amazing. And also Musetta, which is another big soprano role, is also double cast with our students.
Wow. That is impressive. And you talked about it being an intimate production because the Fresno State has a seating capacity of about 270, which makes it very intimate. But this is a full symphony orchestra, correct? On stage, along with how big is the opera side of it?
I think we have about 60 players in the orchestra, which is really um, huge. No, ordinarily you'd have less in the pit in the theater, but we don't have a pit, and we also have orchestra students who all need opera experience, so
Mm-hmm.
we can't exclude them. They all play, so we have a huge orchestra and a cast of about 18 singers, which includes principals and chorus.
And I just attended Covent Garden production of La Boheme, and I was up in the balcony, and I was very impressed by the production. But one of the kind of disappointing things was that I was really far away from the action. And one of the great things about opera is the power of it. And what the audience gets in this intimate setting is full power opera, and they're up close and personal, and they you can feel it. So it's as if you were in the front few rows at a professional opera.
Well, and that's the that's the amazing thing about the Fresno State Opera or Fresno State Concert Hall is that when there's a full orchestra there
Mhm.
and you have a full production going on and singers and everything else, even if you have half of that and you're sitting in the back row,
Mhm.
you are getting all the power still.
Mhm.
You are not that far
Yeah,
there's really
it's
no
unique.
there's really no bad seat in that house.
Yeah.
Well, the back seat in our concert hall would be a $500 seat in San Francisco
Right.
Mm.
Opera House.
Yeah. For a quarter of the price. Less, even
Yeah.
less.
No, no,
For
it's
an eighth
nothing.
of the price.
Our most expensive ticket is $30.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a deal.
Yeah, and actually tickets are $10 for children, 10 and under, $20 for non-Fresno State students, Fresno State employees, seniors, military and veterans, and then $30 general admission. So it's really an excellent deal. La Boheme is January 31st and February 2nd. And yeah, you can go to calendar.fresnostate.edu for tickets for that. All right. Is there anything I missed? Anything you'd like to add?
I think it's an amazing collaborative opportunity that involves nearly the entire music school. The whole orchestra, so many faculty have to collaborate to make it possible. Our our singers and our collaborative pianists. We even had one of the grad students got excellent training by trying to coach our singers a little bit. So, a master's piano student. Um, and we also have to collaborate outside of our school with theater department, with Italian studies to make the production possible. So it's a huge team effort for our college. Dean Chapman is going to do pre-opera talk. So I recommend people come an hour early so they can hear her wonderful take on La Boheme. She'll give a beautiful historical perspective, and she's an amazing public speaker. So don't miss out. So we're all involved in this. It's a huge project. We do it. We don't do it very often. So please be there, support us. And do you have something to add?
I have to add that we did do Bohème in 2012.
Hmm.
Thomas came to me and said we should do a full opera, and so I said okay. But since then we've grown so much, and not only that is I mean, because I was alone in doing this, and people said you can't do an opera this big at Fresno State. We did it, but since then we've grown, and we've added, of course, my colleague, and now we're a team, and we work very well together. And it's so great to have Maria here and her expertise um, to work on this project. So we're growing, so it's fantastic. I wanted to also add, students are free. Fresno State students are free.
Okay, good to
Hoping if
know.
there's any students listening out there that they come and see this show.
And so this is really a good opportunity if you've never been to an opera to come and check it out. To kind of
You don't need to dress up.
This is a
It's
great
easy.
introduction. Yeah, you're out of college. You can dress like you're going to college,
That's right.
and it's affordable. Again, free for Fresno State students. $10 for children 12 and under. $20 for non-Fresno State students, Fresno State employees, for seniors, for active military and veterans. And then general admission is $30. So really for just a fraction of the price of going to an opera in San Francisco, which you'd still have to travel and get a hotel and everything else.
It's in Italian, but don't be afraid. We have super titles. That means we project the English above, so you'll understand what's going on.
Exactly. And you still get that full power of the full orchestra and a full chorus as well.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
All right. All right. So to purchase tickets again and for more information, go to calendar.fresnostate.edu. And thank you both for joining us. Artful Discourse is a production of the College of Arts and Humanities at California State University, Fresno. The Dean is Dr. Honora Chapman, and the Associate Dean is Dr. Sergio Laporta. This program is written, directed, and produced by me, Benjamin Kirk, the college's communication specialist. The theme song for Artful Discourse is Maiden Voyage by Fresno State music professor Benjamin Boone from his album, Joy. More information about his music can be found at benjaminboone.com. Special thanks to KFSR and FSR Underground General Manager Julie Lindahl for making this show possible. You can learn more about the College of Arts and Humanities and find an archive of our shows at our website, cah.fresnostate.edu, or on our blog, fresnostatecah.com.